Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my MK Dons versus Bradford City match review, 6 things we learned type hybrid. Basically, we're going to go through, give every player a player rating and my individual thoughts on all them players. We'll speak about Graeme Alexander as well. Now, I was hoping to do this series with Corbin, but he's very stingy and he won't spend £1.20 on the bus to come and see me. And this season, I didn't want to do 6 things we learned over the internet and on StreamYard, all that sort of stuff. I wanted to do it in person. So you should definitely let Corbin know down in the comment section down below to get his hand in his pocket, because we all want Corbin on the channel. Seriously though, he was with his family today, so hopefully he'll be on for future endeavours and all that sort of stuff. But like I said, we're going to go through all the players. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like on there for me. Let's try and go for 30 likes, I guess, on today's video, and subscribe if you're new as well. I guess we're now on the road to 50 subscribers. Thank you very much for the support on video number 1. Now, this is the first time that I've done this sort of setup where we've got multiple different cameras. I'm holding the microphone by hand and the wire for it is a little bit dodgy, so if it does at any point the audio cuts out, we have to go to the camera audio, I can only apologise. I've got my notes, brief notes really, on all the players as well in front of me. If you agree or disagree with my player ratings, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. What would you give your man of the match and all that sort of stuff? I think there's definitely 2 players who are in the running for man of the match contention, so it'll be interesting to see what you all think down in the comment section down below. But make sure to drop a like on there for me, subscribe if you're new as well, and let's get into it. Starting out firstly then with Sam Walker, and he was definitely for me one of our man of the match contenders. I've given him an 8 out of 10. I think he was very pivotal to our victory yesterday. He made 3 or 4 top class saves, one in the first half, right near the end of that first half, and then another 2 or 3 in the second half. I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday in my personal opinion. He was commanding a real presence about him at crosses as well, which I was very impressed with. Definitely an upgrade on Harry Lewis for me, who had another shocker yesterday for Carlisle United. I think we've definitely come out of this deal the better of the 2 clubs. And I thought Sam Walker's distribution was very good as well, especially in that first half. He was clearly instructed to distribute it to Brad Halliday to try and win the headers up against, I think, is it Joe Tomlinson, the former Peterborough United left wing back, who for me is one of the best in the division. But despite Brad Halliday actually losing quite a lot of them duels, I thought on the whole Sam Walker had a really good game yesterday, so he's definitely in man of the match contention for me. Next up then we have Aiden Baldwin. I'm going to give him a 6.5 out of 10. Now I was debating whether to go with halves or not, but when you factor in the difference between a 6 and a 7, it is quite significant for me, so that is the reason why I'm going to include the 0.5s, and I've gone with a 6.5 for Aiden Baldwin. On the whole, I thought it was a pretty solid debut. There was 1 or 2 shaky moments in the game, but I thought his distribution was quite good when he was trying to play the balls into the channel to the likes of Cook, Kavanagh, Halliday, Sovic down that right hand side. I was quite impressed with Baldwin's distribution. He did lose a couple of aerial duels, a little bit too many that I would personally like to see, and I think I saw that in pre-season as well, and it's a little bit of a concern. It doesn't really matter too much when you're playing against a team like MK Dons, who are very possession based, but when you're coming up against some more of the bigger physical sort of teams, that does strike me as a little bit of a concern. On the whole though, right now I think I would have to give Aiden Baldwin a 6.5 for his performance yesterday. Next up then we go to Neil Byrne. Now this would have definitely been one that me and Corbin did disagree on, but again very busy today, so unfortunately was unable to attend. I've gone with a 6 out of 10 though for Neil Byrne. I thought it was quite similar to Baldwin. On the whole, a solid debut, but there was definitely a few shaky moments in there for me. His diagonals from, obviously he was playing in the centre of the back 3 out to the wing backs on both sides, but in particular Brad Halliday's side was very good, but he did get dragged out of position on quite a lot of occasions. Again, similar to Baldwin, a few too many times, and I think it was quite noticeable, and he looked a bit clumsy at times, a little bit rash in his decision making, and I wouldn't say I've been entirely convinced by the signing of Neil Byrne so far. He did have some good moments, but I think against a team like MK Dons you are going to get caught out of position every now and again, but it just seemed to happen to Neil Byrne a little bit too much, and for me personally it was a little bit of a concern, so that's why his rating is ever so slightly lower than Aiden Baldwin, and that's a big reason as to why I wanted to bring in the 0.5 ratings, because at times I'm going to have different opinions and all that sort of stuff. Moving over then to a left centre back with Kon Kelly. I've gone with a 6.5 out of 10 for him as well. Again, very similar to Aiden Baldwin, a solid performance on the whole. He did get left isolated a few too many times by Tyreek Wright down that left side, and I think it's certainly something that MK Dons were looking to try and capitalise on. They focused a lot of their attacks down right, Kelly's sort of side, our left side, and it was a little bit concerning for me. I thought he did defend quite well though in 1v1 situations when he was having to deal with Aaron Nemane, a very tricky customer, especially at League 2 level. But his distribution, I feel like as well, could have been a little bit quicker. There are a few times where I see him pick up the ball and he's got loads of time, but by the time he's played that pass into Tyreek Wright, the only option for Wright is then to come back and play the ball back into Kon Kelly because he has taken a little bit too long with it. But on the whole, for me, I thought the defence were pretty solid, especially that back three, so that's why I guess they've got an average rating of about, what is it, 6.3, something like that. Next up then, we have the captain, Richie Small, and I've given him a 7 out of 10. A strong display from the skipper. The highlight for him was definitely his first half last-ditch tackle, where somehow he managed to get a toe on the ball. It looks like he's beaten and he's got his hand on his shoulder, and you could certainly see a penalty be given there, but he somehow manages to wrap his left leg around the defender and we managed to clear. It's a brilliant tackle from Richie Small, and I tweeted this as well, saying that if he doesn't play that game, again, it's a game that I don't think we see out and get the 3 points for. His leadership and experience is so vital in there. And yes, again, he had a few underwhelming set pieces. There was one or two. I think there was a free kick in the first half, which went straight into the keeper's hands. But apart from that, let's not criticise him too much. You know, he's absolutely brilliant for us out of possession. His leadership and experience is vital. I know at times he gets, I think I would say, too much criticism from our fans, and I think under Graeme Alexander he's certainly improved quite a lot. I think Alexander is getting the best out of Richie Smallwood, so for me personally I'm going with a 7 out of 10. Next up then we go to Brad Halliday. For me personally I've gone with a 6 out of 10. It wasn't his best day at the office. He gets beaten for pace as well for MK Don's goal. It's not been too many times where we've seen Brad Halliday actually be beaten for pace, so maybe we need to credit Alex Gilbey more than anything. But I thought on the whole, for me, Halliday didn't have a particularly amazing game. He did actually make a brilliant recovery tackle in the first half. It was a nice set piece. I think it was a corner routine from MK Dons, and Halliday just about managed to get the tackle in on Alex Gilbey. He had a few good blocks, especially in that second half. I thought his crossing, though, was quite poor. There were a few, especially in the first half, which were massively overhit, and there were two floated, and they were really easy, comfortable catches for Tom McGill in between the MK Dons sticks. I think there's still a lot more to come, though, from Brad Halliday. We saw how amazing he was last campaign, and it's the first game, so I don't want to judge him too much. When you compare the two wing backs as well, Halliday was having to be a little bit more defensive because Tyreek Wright was bombing on so much. So on the whole, for me, I'm going with a 6 out of 10 for Brad Halliday. After that, we move on to Anthony Sarcevic, and I've gone with a 7 out of 10 for him. I think it was a good base to build on for Sarcevic. There was some really tidy touches and passes. He was very fatigued, though, towards the end of the match, but he worked extremely hard, so I think that was very understandable. I think he came off with about 5 minutes plus stoppage time to go, so you can't really complain all too much. The one thing that I did note, which I would critique about Sarcevic, is he did slow down a few counter-attacks and look to turn back and keep possession rather than drive forward. And I think that could come down to a lack of pace. I'm pretty sure he's 32, 31, 33, somewhere around that sort of age, so he's into his 30s now, and there are certainly going to be times where Sarcevic hasn't quite got that extra half a yard of pace to drive us up the pitch, that sort of energy that we've seen the likes of Alex Patterson, even Jamie Walker have. He doesn't have that yard of pace, but he's got a lot of quality on the ball. I was impressed with what I saw from Sarcevic, and I think there is still a lot more to come from him. He was unlucky really not to get a goal because Andy Cook should have definitely squared an opportunity to him, but we'll come on to that later on in today's video. So Anthony Sarcevic for me gets a 7 out of 10. Next up then we move to Alex Patterson. I've gone with an 8 out of 10 for him. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. He scored an amazing goal, worked extremely hard. His leadership in that midfield as well was absolutely brilliant to see, and I think it's very important that we've got to keep him injury-free this season, because we've seen his quality throughout pre-season, and again yesterday, absolutely outstanding in that midfield. The goal that he scores, he gets it out of his feet, like he says, head down, hit it hard as you can, and it flies into the back of the net. Some people will argue that the goalkeeper should have done better with that, and I could maybe see that argument in all honesty, but I think it's just an unbelievable strike from Alex Patterson. So for me personally, he absolutely deserves to be an 8 out of 10. Out of them two, because I think no one would really disagree that the man of the match vote is between them two. Let me know down in the comment section down below which of them two was your man of the match, and make sure you have liked and subscribed, as that would be massively appreciated. After that then we move on to Tyreek Wright, and I've gone with a 6 out of 10 for Tyreek Wright. And I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on the former Plymouth Argyle's man's performance yesterday down in the comment section down below. Yes, he technically gets 2 assists in the game, but his first assist is a 5-yard pass, which me and you could probably do. I'm not saying everybody could do, because I know that all of you wouldn't be able to do. You know, some of you might not have 2 working limbs down there. Not down there, but you know what I'm trying to say. On the whole, though, a lot of people will be able to do that, so I don't think it's not like he's beaten 3 players and whipped in a brilliant ball that's on a plate for Alex Patterson. He didn't really... He wasn't really involved too much in that. While he carried the ball forward, his pass is just a very simple 5-yard pass. And the second assist is an own goal from a pretty poor cross. Really, it's nowhere near a Bradford City player, and 99 times out of 100, the defender would just clear that into row Z. So I think we've got to take his assist with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but still give him credit for that. I think we've got to be fairly balanced with how we speak about Tyreek Wright. Going forward, I think he looks a little bit more of a threat. I think he's getting more and more confident with taking players on. In the second half, he put in quite a nice hard low cross into the box, and if someone like a Tyler Smith was in there, who knows, maybe he might have been able to flick it in at 2 at the back of the net. But defensively, we have to talk about Tyreek Wright. He was absolutely all over the place, and yes, you could maybe put that down to MK Don's brilliant attacking play, but it didn't happen as much over on the other side. Maybe we were much better set up, but especially with Kon Kelly, who is one of our better defenders, even he looked a little bit lost at times on that side. He did make 1 or 2 good last-ditch tackles, but I would certainly say there was a lot of confusion between him and Kelly in terms of who they were pressing, who they needed to stay with, and I think it did cost us on a few occasions. On another day, if Sam Walker maybe doesn't have as good of a game, we might have been looking at a completely different scoreline and outcome, and I think in the end it was the right decision to sub him off and bring on Clark in that role. Andy Cook is up next then, and moving on to the 2 strikers, I've gone with a 6.5 out of 10 for me for Andy Cook. I thought it was quite harsh, his substitution, in all honesty. We lost quite a lot of physicality when he went off of the pitch, and I understand Alexander was maybe trying to be a little bit more mobile going forward, but we'll speak about Kavanagh in a moment. I certainly think Cook was having the better game out of the 2. I thought he had some good link-up play. It gets fired into his chest quite a lot, and it seems to just bounce off him absolutely perfectly into the path of a Bradford City player, and that's not by luck. That's just pure skill from Andy Cook. He's a very experienced striker, and one we definitely need to have in the team. He should have squared a chance in the second half to Anthony Sovic. He tried to chip it over the keeper. The pass is clearly the better option. I think even if the MK Dons defender tries to cut it out, 99 times out of 100 he's going to end up firing that into the back of his own net. But I guess he's a striker, he's going to want to be greedy, so I can't really blame him all too much. And when the final player in the starting 11 was Callum Karver, I'm going with a 5 out of 10 for Callum Karver. He, in my personal opinion, was the worst player on the pitch yesterday. I thought he was really poor, terrible decision making, especially in the second half. There was 4 or 5 different occasions where we're on the counter attack, he's got 3 or 4 options, and he was overhitting the pass constantly, or he was playing it to the wrong side. His decision making yesterday was really poor. He did battle really hard though in the build up to our second goal. There was 2 or 3 aerial duels where he's putting himself about for, and that's what I like to see from Callum Karver. We've got to remember he's a very young player with still a lot to learn in the game. I think I'm the same age as Callum Karver, which says quite a lot about how both our lives are going. He's starting up front for Bradford City, and I'm talking about him starting up front for Bradford City. But I think he has to be better going forward, especially when you consider all the striking options that we've got. Tyler Smith not even on the bench yesterday. Harry Ibbotson didn't even travel with the matchday squad. Jake Young didn't get any minutes as well. So I still think there is clearly quite a lot to learn from Callum Karver, but we've seen it previously where he doesn't play particularly well, but he still comes out from the game scoring a couple goals. But on the whole, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with a 5 out of 10 for Callum Karver. Moving on then to these substitutions, I think we made 2 on around the 70th minute, and then the other 2 were around the 85th minute. Firstly, we'll start out then with Jamie Walker. I've given him a 7 out of 10. We needed his legs when he came on. We were looking a little bit tired at that point. We obviously had a change in the formation as well. We battled really hard. He won a few 50-50s in there. There's a brilliant sliding challenge which he put in, and that's what you get from Jamie Walker. Tenacity in the midfield, which is something that I thought we lacked a little bit, in all honesty. His experience was massive in helping us see the game out, and he should probably get a start on Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow for a match preview, and I'll obviously give you guys my starting 11 in that one. I wouldn't make wholesale changes, but I certainly would still make a few, and for me personally, Jamie Walker is one of them players who I would like to see get the nod on Tuesday, but I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Next up then, we have Clark, the other 70th minute substitution, and I've given him a 6.5 out of 10. He wasn't that influential in the game. He had to play a left wing back and also as a left 10 when we went to the box in the midfield, and I think that shows really good game intelligence from Clark. He won a cheap free kick near the end of the game to relieve some pressure, and I think his quality on the ball in terms of being able to hold it, manipulate in tight spaces, all that sort of stuff, was quite impressive, and I would say there is a good player in Clark-Adore, but I think he needs to show it a lot more often. He needs to get more goals, more assists, and should he get a start on Tuesday? I wouldn't say he should, but if he does, I don't think it would be the end of the world, just depending on what position he is going to be playing. On the whole though, for me, I'm going to give Clark-Adore a 6.5 out of 10. And moving on to our third substitution of the game in Vernon Oliver. Obviously, he came on in around the 85th minute, I think, for, was it Anthony Sovic? I could be wrong, but he basically came on and led the line. I've given him a 6 out of 10. He didn't really do much in the game. He won a header, which was cheered by the fans, I would say, probably sarcastically, in all honesty, which, you know, it's not ideal. You don't really want to see that, to be fair, but considering how poor he has been in his previous 2 years with the football club, I don't think you can really blame them all too much. But Vernon Oliver, for me, wasn't really involved in the game too much. He was barely on the pitch for long enough to really make an impact, but I've given him a 6 out of 10. Just had to quickly change the camera battery, so the camera angle on the main camera might have changed a little bit. But onto our final substitution of the game. Again, came on and around the same time as Vernon Oliver. Jack Shepherd, I've gone with a 7 out of 10 for him. Very solid at left wing back, which isn't his natural position. Yes, he can play there, but he is certainly more of a centre back or maybe a left back. But he came on, played in that left wing back position, and I thought on the whole was quite solid. There was a few big tackles and blocks in there. I think he showed a good passing ability as well, and I'd like to see him get a start on Tuesday, whether that be left centre back, central centre back, left wing back. I think he could even do a job as a holding midfielder if we really need him to do so. I think he looks like a really good coup, to be fair, so credit to Stephen Gent, David Sharp, all them players. I know we've not seen much of him, but what I have seen so far of Jack Shepherd, he does look like a really, really good loan signing, which is not something that we can say a lot over the last couple of seasons. Finally then, Graeme Alexander, what would I give the gaffer out of 10? I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. Stick with Graeme Alexander, stick with this team, and also stick with Chris Laketti. I'm going to come on to him in a moment, but Graeme Alexander, I think he got the starting 11 almost spot on. It was probably the team that I would have gone with, bar I would have had Richard starting over Tyreek Wright just to give us a bit more defensive cover, but I can understand on a big pitch why I'd want to go for somebody a little bit more mobile. And I know I said I wasn't entirely convinced by Neil Byrne throughout pre-season, so I would have maybe gone with Kelly in the middle, Shepherd on the left, but I didn't hate it all too much, in all honesty. The bench was very attacking, and I think on another day that, you know, might have come back to bite us, but we still had enough cover in all the in all the positions, really, to have that competition for places, but I don't think we needed as many attackers. I would have personally gone with another sort of defensive-minded player, somebody like an Alex Gilead. He wasn't included in the matchday squad, but he did travel with the team. We saw Zach Cady, Lewis Richards, Alex Gilead and Tyler Smith all sat behind the dugout throughout the fixture, so he certainly travelled with the squad. There was rumours speculating on Twitter yesterday that, you know, Alex Gilead could potentially be on his way out of Bradford City. I hope that's not the case, unless he's on like something ridiculous like 3-4 grand a week, and we know about our financial issues at the moment. Apparently we're close to FFP, but then someone explained it and it just seemed to be a little bit of a lie. I've not looked into it too much, so I don't want to comment all too much, but if Gilead is one of our higher earners and he's not going to be in the matchday squad this season, it would make sense from that point of view to spend that money elsewhere. While he's obviously a great leader, he works really hard, does he have the quality on the ball that we really need to get promoted? I'd argue not, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Gilead over the next coming weeks. I think he made some good subs on the whole as well. A lot of people might have been surprised to see Clark-Adore be the first substitute of the game, but I trust Graeme Alexander. I think keeping Kavanagh on over Andy Cook was also a bit of a bizarre one. I know he wanted to probably be a little bit more mobile going forward when we did the change in formation, but Kavanagh was really poor and Cook looked a little bit of a threat, and I think if we kept him on for the full game, Andy Cook might have just found one of them goals where he's isolated up front, he beats 2 or 3 defenders and he sticks one into the top corner. I feel like that would have probably happened if we kept Cook on. I would rather have a tired Andy Cook on the pitch than a fully fit Vernon Oliver. That's just my personal opinion. I don't rate Oliver whatsoever. I wish him all the best at Bradford City, and then in the future as well, when he plays, I'm going to support him, but I just don't personally see what he's offering to this team at the moment. And I mentioned there that I wanted to touch on Chris Laketti. It was very telling that when the players go over to clap the fans, we've seen it for a number of years now under numerous different managers, where they'll kind of go over in groups of 2s, 3s, dribs and drabs, all that sort of stuff. But Chris Laketti made sure that every single player went over there as a squad. I know every player who played, I think Pointer went over there. I didn't see Jake Young. He might have gone straight down the tunnel. I could be wrong there. Young might have been there, but I didn't see him from what I saw. But Chris Laketti made sure to round up every single player and take them right over in front of the fans. And when the players were getting closer and closer, the fans were singing Graeme Alexander's Bradford Army. the connection, it felt like it was really there, and that's not something we've had for a number of years, really, in all honesty, where there is a real connection. Even when we got to the playoffs, it didn't feel like we were that close to the players. Yes, we had some good relationships with certain players, more in particular the low knees, but it felt a bit different yesterday. And I don't want to be overreacting, because let's be honest, we have just beaten one of the best teams in the division away from home. Not many teams will go to MK Dons and pick up all 3 points and score 2 goals while doing so as well. It was a Graeme Alexander masterclass yesterday against his former squad. Against his former team as well, former employees, so I'm sure it would be probably nice for him on a personal level to get one over on him. But on the whole, though, for me, a brilliant way to start the season. You can never ever complain with 3 points. Yes, the performance wasn't amazing, but if we play out that all season and win 46 games, no one's going to be complaining if we're playing League 1 football this time at next campaign. But I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. Hopefully you have enjoyed this new format, this new style. Hopefully next time as well, there is somebody sat next to me rather than just sitting on my own. But I think it's absolutely disgusting, in my personal opinion, that the More SHC channel is not prioritised over seeing your own family. But that's just my personal opinion. If you have enjoyed watching though, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 30 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that would massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 50 subscribers, I guess, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below. Do you agree or disagree with my player ratings? And also let me know down below who was your man of the match. Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Peace.